Winning Blueprint presents.
In the Lab Room. Dallas Cowboys.
Ah, yes. How about them Cowboys? Yeah! Remember when Jimmy Johnson first said that? Man, I hated the Cowboys. But I tell you what, that was a hell of a saying. How about them Cowboys? Yeah! They went nuts. That was sweet. I couldn't lie. Even a team in the 90s that used to win all the time, it was hard to hate those guys. And I was a Redskins fan, diehard Redskins fan. Couldn't stand the Cowboys. But Michael Irvin with the flash and I wanted to be like Michael Irvin. I wanted to catch touchdowns just so I can do the little spike at the end. Give it to him. You know, Troy Aikman was cool. He didn't say a lot. But when the game was on the line, you knew he was going to get it done. Remember those days, Cowboy fans? Man, those days seem so far away, so long ago. When's the last time the Cowboys made it to a championship game? They've been in the divisional round by virtue of getting a first-round bye in the playoffs, but they lost to the Giants immediately in that season, and so they weren't able to advance and really take advantage of having a good record and having home field advantage in the postseason that year. And so, man, time flies. Because the Cowboys was once a dominant franchise. And now it's looking like until Jerry Jones relinquishes some of his power, some of that control, this team will never be what it can be. And as we all know, especially if you're a Cowboys fan, that's not going to happen until Jerry Jones is dead and gone. He's not going to relinquish control over this team to anyone, not even Stephen Jones, his son. He's going to have to be much like George Steinbrenner with the Yankees. He's going to have to be so ill that he can't do it anymore. That's the only way Jerry Jones is alive, and he's not in control. And even then, I question whether he'll let it go. I mean, honestly, he's going to be like Al Davis. Until the day he goes, he's going to be in control. Even when Al Davis wasn't in control, he was in control. And that's the way Jerry Jones is going to be. And and he'll be the first to tell you that. Hey, this is my team, and I'm going to do it the way I want to do it. And yes, if I was a GM, I'd fire myself. But guess what? I'm the owner. And I don't fire myself. I just do it over again. I get do-overs. I'm Jerry Jones. And really, I think that's what's holding this Dallas Cowboys team back right now. Is the fact that Jerry Jones doesn't get fired. He doesn't get someone else so that he can fire them. He just gets do-overs. All right, let's just start it all over again. Let's start over again. All right, new offensive coordinator, new defensive coordinator, new head coach. Let's start it over again. New defensive coordinator, new play caller. All right, let's try it again. All right, that didn't work. And then next year we'll be singing a different tune. New head coach. New offensive coordinator, new defensive coordinator. All right, let's try it again. But for this season in 2012, the Dallas Cowboys, they were an average team. 8-8 is exactly what they were supposed to be. And I hit it right on the head with my lab report for this team. I said the Cowboys were an 8-8, 9-7 football team if the ball bounced the right way. And I said they were going to miss the postseason because I just honestly felt like this wasn't one of the most talented Dallas Cowboys teams I had seen in recent memory. I've seen much more talented teams than this one. There have been some teams that the Cowboys have had over the last 5 years where I said, man, if they could just get hot at the right time of the season, at the end, and Tony Romo can stop making the critical mistake, man, they could be a dangerous team. One of those giant surges at the end and they could breathe through the playoffs, get to the Super Bowl, and win it all. I mean, they've had some really talented teams. But this wasn't one of them. As a Cowboys fan, you have to admit, this wasn't one of your most talented teams. And to add insult to injury, literally, you were really banged up in 2012. I mean, a lot of teams can lay claim to being injured and banged up and not having a lot of their guys. The Cowboys, I think, have more leverage over the rest of the league in terms of injuries than anyone else. I think the Cowboys can lay claim to having the worst injury situation of any team in the National Football League. I think it's pretty safe to say that. You look at their linebacking corps, Bruce Carter was just starting to get it. He was just starting to play good football. He's gone for the season. Sean Lee was probably your most complete and productive linebacker early on in the season. He's gone for the year. DeMarcus Ware, sack machine. You know what you're getting out of DeMarcus Ware. Every single year, you're getting 15-plus sacks, 3 to 5 forced fumbles. You're just getting an animal, an uncaged animal outside on the edge rushing. He gets hurt. He only gives you 11.5 sacks. When's the last time DeMarcus Ware gave you 11.5 sacks? I mean, the guy is a legitimate 13, 14, 15, 17, 19 sack guy a year. And 11.5 is a great number in the National Football League. That's an off season for DeMarcus Ware. He was battling injuries all year long. Jay Ratliff, one of the grittiest and toughest defensive tackles, and athletic because he's not a huge guy. He's not a road grader. He's not a 337-pound defensive tackle. He's a guy that's athletic, agile, and strong as hell. And he gets in there, he pushes the pocket. As soon as you start looking for the bull rush, he goes right around you. He was hurt this season. And so you were just dealing with a slew of injuries. Guys were coming off of the street and starting for the Cowboys. I mean, it was bad. I saw Ernie Sims. I'm like, what is Ernie Sims doing in the game? Where did Ernie Sims come from? Ernie Sims came off of the street. And that's how bad it was for the Cowboys this season. They were getting guys left and right off the waiver wire because they couldn't field a team. You thought Barry Church is the guy at safety. You give him a contract, he gets injured. You couldn't win for lose. And so your defense suffered because of it. 25 points a game isn't going to win you many games in the National Football League. And that's what the Cowboys gave up this season. 25 points per game on defense. Ouch. That's not the Cowboys defense we've come to know over the last 5 to 6 seasons. That's not the Cowboys defense. One thing the Cowboys do consistently is play good defense. They did not do that, however, last year, and they thought they made the improvements necessary to improve this defense. They went out and they signed Brandon Carr in the offseason. They traded up for the services of the rookie corner, Claiborne, out of LSU. And so they thought, hey, we got it figured out at the cornerback position. That's what was killing us. Our secondary was among the worst in the league last season. And so we cleaned that up with DeMarcus Ware and Anthony Spencer getting pressure on the quarterback from the outside. Jay Ratliff applying pressure from the middle. You can't run anywhere. Sean Lee dropping into coverage, picking off passes. Bruce Carter starting to get it. Here we come defensively. And then there you went defensively as 5 and 6 and 7 of your starters just bowed out due to injury. I mean, it was a tough year if you were a Cowboys fan watching that defense. Because this was a Swiss cheese defense, and only because you were banged up. The injuries don't stop there. We can go to the offensive side. It doesn't stop on defense. The Cowboys were banged up on offense as well. DeMarco Murray, if you're a Cowboys fan, let me tell you this. I don't know if you already know it or not. I've watched DeMarco Murray since he was at Oklahoma. This is what DeMarco Murray is. He's a guy that's injury prone. And I don't know if you know that or not, but this is a guy that can't stay healthy. So don't look forward to DeMarco Murray getting 270 to 300 carries in a season, rushing for well over 1,200 yards and really being the bell cow that you think he can be, because you're not going to get that out of DeMarco Murray. He's going to hurt himself at some point in the season. He's going to miss substantial amounts of playing time, and you're going to have to rely on someone else to tote the rock. Just letting you know that. So get used to this. But DeMarco Murray is a really good running back. But he's going to get hurt. He was hurt in the 2012 season. Miles Austin is starting to look like a guy that's always going to be hurt as well. And who started all of these injuries was Jason Witten, because if you remember, he hurt his spleen in the preseason. And so he started the injuries. You knew, man, that's not a good omen. That's not a good sign. We didn't even start the season yet. We're talking about the first preseason game. Out of the gate, Jason Witten's already hurt. And so you knew this was going to be a long season if you measured by those standards. So it was just a tough season for the Cowboys. Your offensive line, you revamped it. You went out, you got Bernardo. You went and got Nate Livings, and you thought, okay, we're going to turn this offensive line around. And everyone on that line got hurt. I mean, you were shuffling around offensive linemen. You look like the Eagles on offense in terms of that offensive line. It was a mess. Guards were playing center. Centers were playing guard. Tackles were switching sides. It was a mess. That's what happens when injuries ravage your team. And for you to still have an 8-8 season, kudos to the Cowboys for still managing to get to 8-8. Because it was rough. It really was rough. So other than injuries, what were problems for the Cowboys in 2012? Good question you asked. I'll give you the reasons why the Cowboys couldn't finish better than 500 this season. Aside from the injuries. Negative 13 turnover differential. Never good in the National Football League when you're a negative, period. I don't care if it's -1. I don't care if it's -3. If you're in the negative, that means you're not taking care of the football good enough and you're not forcing enough turnovers. Well, the Cowboys were -13. Most teams that are -13 are picking in the top 10 in the draft. So again, that speaks volumes to how good the Cowboys are to still finish 8-8, although having a -13 turnover differential. But look, at the end of the day, that cost you. You turn the football over in critical junctures of the game, you're going to lose. They did it against the Redskins, they lost. They did it against the Giants, they lost. You turn the football over too many times in a game, you're going to lose. And the Cowboys had games this season when they just couldn't take care of the football. Against the Redskins, you lost. Against the Giants, you lost. Against the Seahawks, you lost. Because you turned the football over way too many times. The Cowboys should have lost to Tampa Bay, but they didn't. But they could have. If the Tampa Bay Buccaneers were scoring points at that time in the season like they were later on, they probably would have beat the Cowboys because they turned the ball over a lot in 2012. And that's the reason why Rob Ryan was fired. That -13 turnover differential got Rob Ryan fired. Because asking Jason Garrett why he wasn't retained, it was simple for Jason Garrett. He said it all boiled down to us not getting turnovers. We're not forcing enough turnovers. Rob Ryan isn't an aggressive play caller on defense. He doesn't like to blitz if he doesn't have to. And with DeMarcus Ware on one side, Anthony Spencer on the other side, he didn't have to blitz. And so he didn't. You don't blitz. You don't get pressure on the quarterback. You're not going to force turnovers. And the Cowboys only had 34 sacks this season. Again, with DeMarcus Ware being banged up, that number came down exponentially because DeMarcus Ware normally adds another 6 or 7 sacks to this total. Instead, he only had 11.5. And so Rob Ryan not blitzing, not getting home to the quarterback, not forcing the issue, allowing teams to pick this defense apart and put up 25 points a game and not getting turnovers, having that turnover ratio be -13 cost him his job. And it cost the Cowboys some games along the way in the 2012 season. Want to know another reason why the Cowboys weren't better than 8-8 in the 2012 season? Jason Garrett as a play caller. He's been an enigma calling plays his whole career, even when he was just the offensive coordinator. And Jerry Jones thought that he was going to get better as time wore on. He thought he was going to be Sean Payton Jr. That's why he got the job in the first place, because Jerry Jones missed out on Sean Payton the first time around. He wasn't going to miss out on Sean Payton again, and he thought Jason Garrett was the second coming of Sean Payton. Well, he was wrong. Sean Payton is a heck of a play caller. There's probably no better play caller on game day than Sean Payton. Jason Garrett is not that at all. You could argue he's the direct opposite. When you think the Cowboys finally get it on offense, Jason Garrett fools you and shows you you have no idea, you have no clue what is going on offense. When you should be running, you're throwing. When you should be throwing, you're running. And when you should have a great mixture of both, you have neither. And so you never can truly understand what Red Jesus is thinking out there. Remember the game against the Detroit Lions 2 years ago that you guys lost when you were up 34-7 or something like that? You blew that game. You want to ask yourself, how do you throw 3 interceptions in the second half, in the third and fourth quarter, to allow them to take 2 of those to the house and really give the Lions a chance? Why weren't we running the football? Good question. Ask Jason Garrett. He can't give you an answer as to why you weren't running the football. Same premise against teams this season where the run was working. The only game I can honestly say that Jason Garrett got it and you weren't able to win was against Baltimore. When he saw that the Ravens couldn't stop the run, he was running everyone. I'm pretty sure if he had a practice squad running back, he would have put him in the game and let him run too. I mean, Philip Tanner, DeMarco Murray got hurt in that game, but he was running the football effectively. Felix Jones was banged up. He ran the football effectively. He even said, hey, Philip Tanner, get out there, run the football. He didn't care who it was. Some rookie out of TCU got in the game. He was running the ball too. I mean, everyone was getting carries. And he understood that the run game was working, and he didn't go away from it. And that's what you want to see out of Jason Garrett. But you don't see that enough out of him. And so he's been stripped of his play calling duties. He didn't get fired. I thought Jason Garrett was going to be fired because after the season was over, Jerry Jones said changes are going to be made. And I thought the first thing in my mind that popped up was he's going to fire Jason Garrett. No, he's going to hang on to Garrett for one more season. If the Cowboys don't make the playoffs this year, Jason Garrett is as good as fired. But he took the play calling duties from him. He stripped them and said, hey, Bill Callahan is now going to call the plays. And Bill Callahan was already offensive coordinator. He just wasn't calling the plays. Now he'll be able to call the plays and have the flow of the game and maybe a better view, because as a head coach, I don't think you should be calling the plays anyway, unless you're that good at it, like a Sean Payton. I don't think you should be calling the plays anyway, because there's so many things you should be doing on game day other than concerning yourself with calling plays. Let someone else do that. You have a lot of other things you can be doing, like clock management, which is something that I think Jason Garrett struggles with. One of the many reasons why the Cowboys were 8-8 in the 2012 season. I think that Jason Garrett is a very passive-aggressive head coach. Guys get away with having penalties. Guys get away with doing obnoxious things on the field that cost this team. And it doesn't seem like he gets overly concerned. It doesn't seem like he gets riled up or even remotely pissed off about it. It seems like he's just like, why did he do that? Hey, come here. Why did you do that? At some point, you got to get in guys' faces and let them know, look, man, this is unacceptable. If you can't do the simplest things correct and stop costing this team yardage, you got to come out of the game. And I just don't know if he has that kind of backbone or that kind of mean streak in him. I could be wrong. He could be a behind-the-scenes guy. They slam that door shut in the locker room and he goes nuts. Who knows? But I know on the sideline, his demeanor is stoic. It's the same every week, no matter if the Cowboys are up 34 or they're down 34. He's always talking about the process and the journey. Well, when you're losing games, no one wants to hear about the process or the journey. They just want to win. And so this is it for Jason Garrett in Dallas. This is it. This is his final call, last stand. Get it done this season or you're done. I saved the best for last. Tony Romo. I actually think that Tony Romo is a really good quarterback in the National Football League. I think he's one of the better quarterbacks in the league. Everyone likes to blame Tony Romo when things don't go right, and sometimes rightfully so. You know, when he makes bad decisions and turns the football over, causes the Cowboys to lose games, Yeah, it's on him. It's not on him all the time, though. And I think he's unjustly criticized sometimes, almost to a fault. But again, when you're the quarterback of the Dallas Cowboys, you have to expect scrutiny. And if you can't live up to the standards that have been set by previous Dallas Cowboys quarterbacks, and the kitchen is too hot, you need to get out. And Tony Romo, he takes it. He takes all the grief and all the flack in stride, and he tries to get it done. But I think he feels the pressure when it's great, and sometimes he just can't perform under those circumstances. I like him as a quarterback. I think he's a really good quarterback. But is he the guy that can take you where you want to go? I ask you, Cowboy fans, is Tony Romo the guy that can take you where you want to go? Before, I said, yeah, I think he can. Now I'm not so sure. I just think that Tony Romo is a guy that when the pressure is its greatest, always seems to make that one mistake, that one critical error that you say, you can't do that, Tony. You can't do it. You know, you get the same when he, pulls the chin strap off and he's got the hat and he's bending the brim on the sideline and he's looking like he just lost his best friend. You're sick and tired of getting that look if you're a Cowboys fan. You're sick and tired of the, oh no, Tony Romo moment. The one where the linebacker drops into coverage in the flats and he just throws a loft job out there and allows him to pick it off. Or Darrelle Revis is dropping into coverage looking straight at Tony Romo. Romo's looking straight at him and throws him the football anyway. You get tired of those moments occurring if you're a Cowboys fan. How many more of these seasons can you take? That's the question you have to ask yourself. I think that Tony Romo is your quarterback, at least for the next 2 seasons. But you need to have a backup plan in place. I don't think you have that right now. You need to start working on accumulating that. Find a young guy that can come in and be the heir apparent to Tony Romo, because I think his time is running out in Dallas. Also, if you're the Cowboys, you have several needs. Receiver. I like some of the young guys you have at receiver. I thought Dwayne Harris was an absolute animal on special teams. And he started to emerge as a receiver as well. I think he could be a solid slot guy for you. Cole Beasley looked like someone that could be a problem in the slot as well. But with Miles Austin always getting hurt, Des Bryant seeming to be hurt a lot as well, you need to start finding guys that you can rely on. You need that extra receiver that can step in and be a stud. Like when you had Laurent Robinson. I think you need to find another receiver, whether it's free agency or in the draft. You need to draft a 4th or 3rd round receiver that can come in and be a solid contributor on this team. I think you could use an upgrade at safety. I'm not sold on Barry Church. I'm not sold on Gerald Sensabaugh. I think you could use an upgrade at safety. Cornerback. Mike Jenkins. How long is he going to be around? He's always complaining he wants to start. How long is that going to last? Orlando Scandrick. He's good, then he's not good. Could you use an extra cornerback? Probably. Probably so. Your defensive line, I don't know. You might can get away with what you have. I thought Hatcher had a great season. Jason Hatcher really played probably his best football as a Cowboy this season. Jay Ratliff was hurt for the first time in his career. He's really been durable. He was injured this year. So I think you might be fine on that defensive line. Maybe you could use another defensive end or two. The Cowboys are talking about potentially switching to a 4-3 defense. You got Monty Kiffin coming in as your new defensive coordinator. You're going to be playing the Tampa 2 defense, a lot of cover 2. If you're switching to 4-3, you're going to need more defensive ends. Simple as that, because DeMarcus Ware and Anthony Spencer can convert to 4-3 defensive ends. But you need a rotation. You need more bodies along that defensive line. So you could draft some more defensive linemen. That would definitely help you out. Offensively, you need to continue to upgrade that offensive line. I thought the offensive line was shoddy at best. Hannah is going to be a good tight end, I think, for you. So I don't think you really need to invest anything in the tight end position. Jason Witten is still going strong. Don't think you need to go there right now. I think offensively, offensive line, receiver are the 2 positions you need to really take a look at. Maybe you even need to take a look at quarterback. But again, this crop of quarterbacks are so bad, I don't think you even want to go sniffing around this class of quarterbacks. Receiver and offensive line on offense. Defensively, I think you need to focus in on that D-line. With you switching to a 4-3 defense, I think you have enough linebackers. But with Ware and Spencer potentially going to the D-line, you'll need more linebackers. You'll need more linebackers. So I could see you drafting more linebackers as well. And you definitely could use an upgrade in the secondary. At safety, I think that you could use at least one quality safety and potentially another cornerback, because you don't know the status of Mike Jenkins. And Orlando Scandrick, to me, is too up and down. And so you could use another corner as well. So the Cowboys, they don't really have a lot of pressing issues and needs, if you ask me. They just need to get healthy. Get everyone back healthy, on the same page. Figure out what you want to do defensively. Figure out what you want to do offensively and move forward. And that's going to do it for the Dallas Cowboys. Thank you for joining me here on the Lab follow-up for the Dallas Cowboys. Join me tomorrow when we'll be talking about another NFC East team, the New York Giants. They're the 19th team to select in the 2013 draft, and we'll be talking New York Football Giants tomorrow here on the Lab follow-up. See you then. Thanks for joining me.
Dallas Cowboys in the lab.